Good evening, folks, and welcome to YouTube Model Builders Live for September 2017. Here's our host for tonight, Mr. William Graham.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to tonight's show. Tonight's show is a little unusual, and first and foremost, we have to give you guys a big apology because kind of screwed up on the time. We didn't realize that the weekday shows start at 9 p.m. Central. Is that correct?
Yes.
No, 8 p.m. Central.
8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern.
Right. Because me and Barry, we kind of got a little messed up on that. We messed Joe up on that as well. Anyway, with that said, we want to apologize because usually we do this show earlier, but this will be in place of the September 16th live show only because we have some personal commitments. It's my mother's birthday, and we certainly do not want to upset my mother by not showing up for her birthday. So this show will be in lieu of the September 16th. There will be no live show. But with that said, what I'd like to do tonight is bring you guys up to speed out there in the community. What we're going to be doing in the next couple of months with Joe Desmond, who's our guest tonight, and his channel is Central Jersey N Scale and Conrail. He'll be tonight's show and hopefully subsequent other shows, hopefully 5, and we're going to go pick up the pace from easy to intermediate to moderate heavy, and then expertise kind of stuff in weathering and stuff like that. So this is something new that we're going to be doing, and stuff like that. So it sounds like, we're trying to do something from a lot of things. Joe and I got together early and in the summertime, and we worked this out with John and Barry and Andy, and this is the new thing we want to do. We want to start bringing tabletop, camera down, and stuff like that. So just to give you guys a heads up, we're going to continue with this series, and just to give you an idea of what's coming up, this has been a busy week for YouTube Model Builders Live. Tomorrow we have the general discussion show with Johnny. I hope with Johnny, if he gets his power back and his internet. He got his power back, but he didn't get his internet back. So hopefully he'll have that back soon. If not, then I think Andy will be taking over the general discussion for tomorrow night. And to introduce, let me see if I can bring this up because I'm all kind of new to this stuff. And here we go. Screen share. This is going to be Bill Baronic is a track planner, and his next show is September 26th. And this is basically a plug for his perspective on track planning in every issue of the E-Magazine and the show, The Track Planner Presents, brought to you by YouTube Model Builders. Watch The Track Planner Presents every other month on Tuesday. His next show is coming up on the 26th of September. And the topics will include principles of track planning, which are very good. I am a recipient of one of Mr. Baronic's track plans, and designing for operations, proper bench work design, and dissecting track plans, and much, much more. He'll be doing that. And also the next show for the Adreno will be October 4th, and that will be with Chris Healy. And then on October 10th, we have the Fine Scale show. And October 18th, we'll be come back with Joe. And this show is what we're calling this show is Into the Locomotive Shop. So tonight what we're going to be doing is, and with tonight's show, just so before I get ahead of myself, this show is going to have all the same bells and whistles that the Saturday Night Live show has. We're going to do all the giveaways. Am I correct, Barry, at the end of the show?
At the end of the show, we're going to do the giveaways.
So we're going to do that. Barry's muted, so we can't hear him.
Yes,
he said yes.
Yes, we'll be doing it at the end of the show.
Yes, no, at the end of the show, we're going to do the giveaways and the bells and whistles. Everything's going to remain for that. But just so you guys know, in the subsequential shows with Joe, Desmond, and myself and Barry, we're not going to do the giveaways, only due to the fact that Saturday night. So enough of that. Tonight we got with us Joe Desmond. Now, Joe is a fellow New Jerseyan along with Barry. And like I said, we're going to do tonight Into the Locomotive Shop. And basically tonight, and Joe's going to explain a little bit more. We got a video, so we're trying something new and different this time. We're going to be working alongside a video. So we really, truly encourage your questions in regards to what's going on. And Joe will be more than happy to explain. and we'll basically be getting into it. But tonight's show is basically going to be, tonight we'll be doing a Conrail MP15 diesel engine, transformer from a DC to a DCC. Am I correct?
That is correct, Bill.
Why don't you tell us, Joe, what we're going to be doing?
Okay, so tonight we're going to start off real light. We're going to get going real slow, and we're going to be doing a DCC drop-in decoder install on an Atlas MP15. We're going to be putting in just one detail tonight. I'm just going to be doing an antenna on the roof, and then we're going to be doing some weathering. And then I'll walk you through the process of getting it all together and testing it and get it out on the layout running.
And that's basically part of what we're going to do in sub. Oh, I'm sorry. What happened?
Yeah.
Nothing. You're there.
We're good.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I interrupted you, Joe. Go ahead.
No. Nope. I was done with my thought.
Oh, and okay. A live video. This is what happens. Yeah. So subsequently, what's going to go on is we're going to, if you could bring us up, like what we're going to do as we go on for the next couple of shows.
So through the next couple of shows, we're going to work up steadily, and we're going to take on a little more approach to just build up to the more complex, where we're plateauing out with a full wired sound decoder install, and lots of details and heavy weathering. So we're starting at the low point. I told you where the high point's going, so you guys can draw the line and figure out where we're going in between. So we'll just leave it at that.
Great, and that's what we want to do here at YouTube Model Builders. We want to bring this back to the on-screen, camera on desk, and work through this. So, with that said, let's start the video. Let's work through this. And we're working on what tonight? What are we working on?
We're working on the Atlas MP15. So that's what we're going to start with.
All right, well, let me transition our video in here and get on rolling. I'm starting the video.
Okay, so before we get started with any project, I like to do a little bit of research.
Excuse me, I paused the video for you.
Okay, so before we get started with any detailed project, I like to do a little bit of research, just get a little background information. So with this locomotive, you need to know that it's a 1500 horsepower end cab switcher that was manufactured by Electromotive Division between 1974 and 1983. Now, Conrail acquired 10 of these units from the Reading Railroad after the 1976 startup of Conrail. Now, this is very important to realize for this project, because if you look at the end date of the lease was 1989, so Conrail painted these units in 1983. So what that means, let me explain it this way, is that 6 years these units were in Conrail blue. So you want to take this into account when you start your weathering. These units didn't get real heavy weathering, they didn't get real dirty. So that's why I want to bring this up, is it's important to go out there and do your research before you get started into a project, so you know. And you also pick up that certain details. Like most Conrail modelers know that Conrail locomotives will have a cab signal box, and we'll get to that later at a later time. So if you don't know what a cab signal box is. But with the MP15s, as you do your research, you find out that they didn't put cab signals in the MP15. So it's just making that little bit of research shows you so you don't make those little critical errors when you're doing a nice detailed model. All right, Barry, we're going to roll it.
All right, she's back under power here. Yeah, the cab signal box is probably a leftover from the Pennsylvania Railroad days.
Yeah, it was Penn Central started that, and actually through my research I found out that mostly in the middle division there was a lot of outlying divisions that didn't necessarily get cab signals.
Ah, okay. All right.
Okay.
Now the testing video. When you pause it there?
No, just let it go.
All right.
So The first thing what we always want to do is we want to do a test. We're going to do a bench test on it. This locomotive came right out of the box from the factory. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on a DC power pack on my test track, and we're going to put power on it. What we're doing here is we want to test it and make sure that we have a known good locomotive. And that is a key phrase, because if you get into your process of installing the decoder, you don't want to find out that there's a problem and not know that it's the locomotive. So this way, if you know the locomotive is good, you can eliminate that problem. The other thing is you're going to listen for any binding, squeaking, squealing, or anything like that, so you can address the problem as we get the chassis apart.
Now, Joe, do you do this normally, even if you don't do any additions to the engine or any new engines you get? Do you always do a testing of your engines like this?
Pause it, Barry. Yeah, anytime I get any locomotive that comes into my domain, my layout, I'm going to test it. I want to see what it's going to do and how it is. So yes, that I do that.
Oh, okay. Just wanted to get a feel for that. That's a great idea, by the way, I think.
Yeah. All right.
All right, so we got the disassembly video coming up now.
All right, so now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing our disassembly. So I'm going to put it on the bench, and we're going to take it apart, because what we need to do is we want to do some base weathering. Okay, so I need to get the trucks and the fuel tank off, because you don't want to spray your trucks when they're still attached to the wheels, because then you gum up your wheels and your pickups and makes a lot of cleanup. So it's just best to just take your time and take it apart and go from there. So what I like to do is, this is a little trick. I've shown this on my channel before. I just take the case, put it on the pilot step, drop it, and it pops the chassis loose. This one was a little stubborn because it was brand new. So
that kind of typical of Atlas engines like that?
Yeah, Barry, it is. When they're new out of the box, they are a little tight. I will say that. So we got our shell off safely. We didn't damage any details by doing that, because when you get in there with them hobby knives, you're prying and you have a tendency to break stuff. So now what we're going to do is pull that light shade off, and we're going to loosen. What I like to do now is these little Chinese food containers, I line them with my paper towel, and I put all my parts for this locomotive in there, and I kind of lay them out how they came off of the locomotive. So it just helps me put them back together. So, and this way parts don't go scattering. So now we're going to loosen these screws. Now be aware, on an in-scale locomotive, for you in-scalers out there, there's those little nuts on the back. Don't lose those. They have a tendency to fall out. So I'm going to pop my trucks out. Now I'll just take that chassis, put it in the container, and move it out of the way so we don't drop it. So now we need to get these side frames off these trucks. With the Atlas, there's 4 little pins on the bottom, and all you need to do is you just take your hobby knife, hold it, and push those pins in, and it'll release that assembly from the side frame. Be aware though, there are those brass pickups. They will fall off, so just be aware of that so you don't lose them on the carpet.
Now, is the construction of these end scale different from the HO?
I can't really say, because I never really opened an HO locomotive to know, but the pictures I've seen, I think so.
It looks similar, yeah.
But I know with in-scale, there's all that zinc counterweights in there, where I don't think HOers have all that stuff. Sometimes,
yeah, sometimes no. Like the old Bachmann Spectrums were solid like that, with the nuts and the screws going through the frame. They had a split shell like that, and they're a pain to do decoders, and because of that.
So now you take the trucks out.
Yep. So I'm going to take those and put those trucks safely in the bin there. Now, at this point, if you wanted to paint those wheels and get a little fancy, we could. But for this time around, we're not going to do that. So we're just going to put that aside with the wheels and the pickups and get it out of the way. And we're going to get our side frames and our fuel tank and get that ready to go to the spray booth.
Very nice.
So this is what I like to call my base weathering coat. So at this point, I'm going to get my I'm going to use Model Flex Grimy Black, and we're going to spray the side frames of the trucks and the fuel tank, and then we'll get ready to spray a base level of weathering to the shell.
Now that is some impressive paint booth.
You like that? Someone who likes me very much gave me that.
Wow, man, you must be very well liked.
Yes.
Folks, this is the North Jersey, New York love fest going on here.
The bromance, bro. It's a bromance.
There you go, bromance. So when I set up my airbrush, I'm going to bump the pressure down about 20 pounds. I'm using my color cup with the grimy black. I put about 1 pipette full, and then I'm going to put about 4 little drops of isopropyl rubbing alcohol. I like the alcohol because it makes it flow a little nice, and it makes the paint smooth.
Do you use like 70 or 90?
I use 70% isopropyl.
70,
I just go to the drugstore in the corner and buy it.
Okay.
So now getting the spray booth set up. My brush is all ready to go. I did a test to make sure it was all opened up, and now we're just going to start spraying. Now, I have a dual action brush. The way I like to run my dual action is I pin that brush down full on with the air, and then I just vary my paint flow by pulling back on it. So you want to get a nice even coat. You don't want to do too heavy because if you glop it on there, you're going to lose a lot of these details that are in the scale. So you just do it real light, and you can always do multiple coats. So don't try and overdo it to begin with.
Now Now you're spraying that, and that's a small part for its end scale. So what are you using to hold that?
Right now, a wise man taught me this trick. I use a bamboo skewer and an alligator clip, and just kind of pinch it on there, real cheap, inexpensive little tool, and it works out really well.
Nice.
So they're just crimped on that are skewers?
Yep, I just use a pair of pliers and crimp them on, and I just stick them in a foam block to hold it.
Nice.
So now we're going to go on to the fuel tank here. Same with the trucks. We're just doing a light coat, and we can always do an extra coat if we have to, if we see any spots that we missed.
So you're lightly doing this?
Yes. It's by the time the paint is hitting the surface, it's dry. It looks dry, I should say. Pretty much dry to the touch in about 15 to 20 minutes, but I usually let the paint sit overnight just to, because if we're handling it, we scratch it or something, I don't want to have to repaint it.
So when you do this light coat, is it noticeable? Because unfortunately, the video doesn't do it justice.
Yeah. Actually, in the booth, under the light, in the work light, you can see it. Because that light I have in that booth is really bright because you want a nice work light so you can see all the nooks and crannies and the details.
Right. And it's important to have that. You want those details to pop out at you. That's the reason why you spray.
If you look at the standard truck that comes in the box, it's that shiny black. You would be surprised how much detail there is in there. When you spray it a flat paint like that, how much shows up. It really brings out the detail. And then when we hit it later with the weathering chalk, we're going to bring out a whole bunch of other details that you guys didn't realize on those side frames.
Right.
It's just a little tiny piece. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, before I do my base weathering spray on this shell, I want to put my antenna. Now we're using a Sinclair antenna made by Trainworks. It's brass. I've already pre-painted it and let it sit for a couple days. Conrail used Sinclair 19-inch antennas, and they traditionally put their antennas on the locomotive, the engineer side of the cab, so kind of a little bit right of center and about midway back. So I'm drilling a hole with a number 75 drill bit. You want to get as small as you can, and then once I drill that hole, we'll go ahead and put the antenna in the hole.
Ralph Greenwood wants to know, Joe, did you ever check the truck frames for flash or file flash off of them?
If I see it, I will, but I don't really notice, to be honest with you. There is some, I have heard some people have that issue, but the ones I have seen, I haven't had to actually do it on. The ones that I have.
So what are you gluing this part in with?
I'm going to use just regular CA.
Okay.
So what I do is I drop the antenna in the hole first. I put my finger over it and I flip it over.
Ah, okay.
And I put the CA on the inside. Because you don't want to put it on the outside because you have a tendency to do too much and then it glops and runs and you have that big shiny spot around the antenna on the roof. We don't want to see that.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah, I know.
So I just little glue on the back.
Joe, Sparky 107 asks, where did you find all your information? I would assume on the Conrail. Is that what you're talking about, Sparky?
Conrail Historical Society. Everyone out there, Conrail. CRHS.org. Go there, and they have a ton of information on this stuff. Another good source out there for you Conrail modelers is Conrail Cyclopedia. Google search it. All right, so now we got our antenna in. I let it dry for a good hour or two, and now we're going to get going and started doing our base level spray. So for the base level spray, what I used to use was a paint called by Foco was a dust, and of course they don't make it anymore. So I've kind of replicated the same effect using Model Flex sand. And oh, I'm sorry, we're out of order here. So in preparation for the spraying, I need to get these engine intake grills painted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in there with some engine black and alcohol. So what I do is I set my paint tray up that you see on the bottom there. One's got black and one's got alcohol, and I kind of just dip my brush back and forth until I get the consistency I want. And then we're just going to paint it on the grills, and we're going to let it soak in. That gives you the appearance that the grills have depth and they're not just a piece of plastic.
So it gets down in the metal work in the grill.
Yep. So then there's also on the MP15, there's the big two intakes on the top, and then also on the front of the nose, you want to get that one too. So at first, when you first look at it, it looks like, whoa, that's dark. It's really dark engine black. Don't worry about it. We're going to fix that towards the end. When we blend it all in, you won't even tell.
Now, could we just pause the video for a minute? Because I have a question.
Sure. Go ahead, Bill.
All right, it's paused.
Okay, good. First and foremost, I think some part it looks really great. But why did you get into N scale in the first place? Because Sparky said, you know, earlier in the comments, he said working with N scale is for, you know, basically it makes them go blind. But you know, it is a little. I know with these little fat sausage fingers, I'm not going to do that. So, do you find it intriguing and challenging to work with N scale, or is it just because of the trackage you get when you're designing your layout? Well,
first of all, and I'm sure if you ask Bill on his show in a couple days, N scale gives you the best bang for your buck when it comes to scenery to track ratio. I mean, that's how, if you're going to do a model where you want to show the full Rocky Mountains in your layout room, you want to do it in N scale, because you'll never be able to achieve that vision in HO or O scale or anything like that. N scale or small. It's that scenery to track ratio. Right. I got involved with it at an early age. I think my first N scale layout was given to me when I was around 8. Okay. Now, when I started, let me do the math in my head. Say 1985, doing a quick math in my head because I'm not a mathematician. 1985, you should have seen the stuff we were working with. Open box frame locomotives, not enough counterweight. They had the rubber bands on the wheels. They had the rubber band screw drives. Wasn't even a direct gear. I mean, the stuff was just really, by today's standard, garbage. And so I got started at an early age, and I just adapted to N-scale, working with these small things that now I'm just so used to it. I'm just so trained. My eyes are so in tune to it. I mean, today I was fooling around with microtrains couplers, putting that little tiny screw in there, and it's nothing for me now. So that's how I got involved with it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really good if you're in N-scale from the beginning. You don't know no different. That's the best way I can say it.
Good point.
The N.W. Perry says that you should have started in the late 70s and seen what was available then.
I have nightmares.
Yeah, they were doing rubber band drives and locomotives then for HO scale, after and rubber band drives.
Yeah.
The, especially in Australia, the NW Perry says.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah.
That's my man, Neil from Down Under.
All right, so let's get our video back rolling up here. So Vader in here. Alrighty.
All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to set up for this base level spray that I was talking about before. So, I used to use Folk Wheel Dust, but now I've been able to replicate it using the Model Flex Sand, and just by diluting it down with a little couple extra drops of alcohol. So I use like 6 drops. I've been able to get that little translucent look. So if you notice my hand the mechanism I use to hold the shell, just an old paper towel roll out of the garbage can. I don't even bother with fancy devices. So I just pinch it, put it on there, and it holds it real nice. And then when I'm done with it, it's got paint on it, throw it in the garbage, and I get a new one for free. Before we get going, though, very key is you've got to mask off these windows. So I took the time to cut some masking tape and put it over the windows because I was having trouble pulling out the windshield glass and I didn't want to break anything. So I said, you know what, it's just easier to cut some tape and put it over there. So that's why I taped it. So here we are. We're just going to get started spraying. Still, I'm at 20 pounds. I didn't change anything on my regulator. Just changed the color cup. And we're just going to do I've moved back a little further. You may not be able to tell from this angle, but I'm a little further back and I'm just making a nice cloud, letting these atomized paint hit it from a distance. The other thing when you're spraying, make sure I didn't disassemble this chassis because I didn't want to break the handrails and stuff. Usually I do take the walkways off to make it easier to spray. So make sure you're moving these angles around so you can get around the handrails, so you don't get the shadows on the side of the long hood of the handrails. Also pay attention to your steps, your side steps, and your front pilots. You want to get some weathering on those too because you know they took a beating. I mean, think about all the guys walking up down the steps in the rain and the mud. So that's what we're doing.
That's where all the road dirt kicks up too.
Yep. Yeah, because they're all open steps, so that grime just kicks right up through there like a spray. And also, when we're spraying, we're going to spend a little extra attention to those engine grates. So it was that real dark black. So we're just going to kind of hit it and kind of lighten it up so it kind of blends into the background.
Yeah, I can see how much it's toned down now.
Yep. And what I like about this sand coat is it's almost like a sun fade. You know, you get that little bit of sun fading on the paint. You know, after a year or two. That's kind of what I'm looking for here.
So you just build it up a little bit at a time till you get the effect you want.
Exactly. That's the key here. Start small and keep doing more coats. Because if you go overboard at first, then you got to take it off.
Right, if you put a thick coat, it's harder to. You have to basically strip it all down.
And we're remembering that this locomotive was only in this paint job for 6 years, so we want to take that into account.
Sparky 107 wants to 07 says, "I have never tried air spraying. Is it hard to get the knack of?"
If you go with a basic airbrush like a Badger single action, you know, no, it's not. The big thing is you just got to have it. You just got to clean up. That's I think the biggest portion why people don't like airbrushing is because I got to set it up, I got to get the compressor, or I got to get my canned air, and when I'm done, I got to clean it and break it down. But once you get over that and you get into it, it's really not that hard, and it's a beautiful way to paint. I mean, once you get set up and you're ready to go, it works perfectly.
Yeah, especially when you're painting with acrylics, because you can just throw some Windex in the paint cup and spray it through and tear your brush apart and you're done and clean in 5 minutes, you know.
Barry, you hit the nail on the head. Yeah, acrylics make the airbrushing so much easier.
Yeah, I think it's like Wada makes a little cleaning station. It's basically a sealed bowl.
I have one right there. When you look on the corner under my hands. So
there it is. Yeah, literally, you just stick the nozzle of the airbrush in there and put the cleaner in the paint cup and spray it into this bowl. That way you have keeps the spray there. It's great.
So there we are. We got the masking off and our airbrushing is all done.
Beautiful. Look at that.
Exactly what I was looking for.
That looks sweet. That looks sweet.
That really does. Yeah, you couldn't have asked for a nicer very light weathering effect there, Joe. That's a fantastic job.
So now I like to let it set overnight. Even though it's dry, I'm going to put it in the booth. I'm going to put the trucks in the booth, turn out the lights, and we're going to bed. And we'll come back the next day. This project was actually over 3 evenings. I did this in 3 evenings. So up to this was the end of the first evening here.
Stu Structure says, practice is the key to good airbrushing, Sparky, same as everything. And hello, by the way. Yes, hello back to you, Stu. Andy Crawford, I just started recently and I'm no artist. As works imply enough from... okay, remember I'm an engineer, so I make everything complicated.
Yeah.
Ron Strains and things just dumped in here. I like the paper roll holder for the N-scale shell. Very true.
Yeah, that is an impressive little tip there.
You know?
Yeah, I like that. It came out. It works really good. Barry, are we rolling?
No, I paused the video.
Nice. Tim Wayman, but as a reminder, it is only for this episode of the show due to the other show being canceled this month. Otherwise, it will be back on as normal. Somebody asked a question, apparently, about another show, but hopefully, just to reiterate what time it's 10:30, so I'm going to take this opportunity to have a little bit of a commercial break here for YouTube Model Builders. Tonight's show is brought to you by YouTube Model Builders, and what we hope to do in the future is this is the start. This show is called Into the Locomotive Shop with Joe Desmond from Central Jersey, N-scale, and Conrail. And what we hope to do in the future is to have at least to have 5 of these shows where we are doing back to basic camera on the bench, and basically bringing you guys a little bit more content and working on locomotives, engineering stuff and stuff like that. We're also going to be having the Adreno show, the Fine Scale show, and we've added this show into the Locomotive Shop. With this show, what we hope to do, like I said earlier, is to do about 5 shows, 5 of these shows, because we don't want to oversaturate we don't want to overstay our welcome, or we'll never be asked to stay over, basically. We don't want to, burn it out. So what we hope to do is do these 5 shows and then take a little bit of a break and then come back with something new and different. And this is what, on our last show, what we talked about on the live show is presenting this to you guys, and this is something we want to keep fresh and new, and any ideas that you have, most certainly, please, direct it to us, because we want to keep the content fresh and we want to keep the platform going, and we're really doing a lot to make that happen. So this is going to be the first of the series with Joe Desmond. And the other thing, just to give you guys a heads up, on September 14th, which is tomorrow night, you'll have the general hangout, I believe, with Andy, because I don't know if John got his power or his internet back up due to the storm that happened. And on October 4th of next month, you'll have the Adreno show with Chris Healy. And then October 10th, you'll have the Fine Scale show again. And then back on October 18th, we'll be back with Intro into the Locomotive Shop. The live show will be working as well. Also, the other thing is that we're going on the 26th, we're going to have Bill Baronic, the track planner, will be doing his show on September 26th. And what he'll be doing is his topics will include principles of track planning, designs for operation, proper benchwork design, dissecting track plans, and much, much more. You can also read Bill's column, A Perspective on Track Planning, on the in the eMag that I believe is coming out this weekend or sometime early next week. It takes a lot to put that magazine together, and JD and his crew do a really good job of it. So I believe that magazine is supposed to come out on the 16th or that following week. Anyway, with that said, we also are going to have the prizes tonight, because like I said earlier, this show is taking place on the September 16th, because yours truly has a personal business with my mom. It's her birthday, 78 years old. I will tell her that all of you wish her a happy birthday, so we don't have to put that in the
happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday, Mom.
I will let her know that you guys said that to her. So, and we will all have the bells and whistles with that. At the end of the show, we'll be giving the prize away, and Barry will basically explaining that to you guys. So, with that said, let us get back to Joe, Desmond, and if you guys have any questions, start bringing them in, because Joe's getting tired of hearing himself talk.
Fire away, everyone. I'm ready.
All righty, so let me get the video back. Like I said, Joe, we're right where the next logo came through.
Well,
so.
Hold on for a minute. Sparky 107, 107X. It's the cleaning. It has to be done, or is it destroyed? Like if you don't clean your airbrush out, is it, if you leave it?
You could probably get away with maybe 1 or 2 of those times without cleaning it, but after that, you're done. You might get away with it once or twice, but you got to clean it.
Yeah, what can happen, especially if you're using a fine needled brush, is the needle tip can get stuck in the nozzle in the front, so you might have to pry it back, and then it can build up paint film inside the nozzle, so the needle doesn't seat properly, or you can get a ridge of paint on the needle, and then all of a sudden you get sputters and junk flying out the tip when you're trying to get a nice smooth spray. So cleaning is very important.
But, you know, I'll be honest with you. These days, Barry, you can back me up too. These days, with all these acrylic paints, there's no reason why you can't clean it out. It takes you 10, 15 seconds to put a bottle of water on the bottom and blow it through, and you're done.
Yeah,
it's not like the old days where we had to disassemble it, run it through turpentine, and get everything scrubbed off because we're using oil-based paints. I think those days are over.
Because the modern acrylics are just as nice, thin as the old flow quill was and everything. So, like I said, you can put water through the brush. You can put if the company makes a specific cleaner, or even Windex for regular acrylic paints. Because the modeling acrylics are different than craft acrylics, much thinner binder, smaller pigment, so they clean up easier. But literally, just put the cleaner into your cup. You can spray it into the air or spray it into the cleaning station Joe and I were talking about, and 20 seconds, 30 seconds, your brush is nice and clean. And that way, every couple times you take the brush apart, pull the needle out, make sure there's no debris on the needle inside the nozzle, and you're done. It's pretty simple, actually.
Barry, I don't know what brush you're using, but I know with the Badger they have that needle juice. Have you ever seen that?
No, I've never seen that.
It's just a lubricant. You kind of put it in, a drop of it in there, and just work your brush in, and kind of just makes the needle nice and smooth, and it also the mechanism so you don't get all bound up. So I've been using that.
Never used that. I have a Pache VL.
Okay, I just saw it maybe a couple months ago and picked up a bottle. I just started using it, so I'll have to report back on how good it is.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to hear about that, because I mean, it sounds like it could be almost used for any brush.
Yeah, it's just made by Badger. That's all.
Jerry Ashley notes, my notebook is getting full with all the neat tips I've learned from all you guys. Thank you.
Awesome.
Wayman, my wife, kids, and dad are impressed with what I've been doing since I've started watching and joining in.
Oh, that's great.
And Harry, Umbro makes a paint on plastic film that replaces masking on windows. It's called Mask Hole. I believe that's how you pronounce it. It peels off after painting, perfect for end scale.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
Jerry Ashley, thanks. And they brought Rail Ty Brown from the English firm, and we will check out Mask Hole. Timothy One, okay. And Dave Knight, everybody's wishing my mother happy birthday. While he's weathering, Joe, what detail parts are you having a hard time finding?
Oh, I had a hard time finding cab signal boxes in Excel. I actually had to go to Shapeways and found a gentleman who was making them on Shapeways. There's a company out there that's advertising that they do them in cast resin stuff. They didn't even call me back. The in-scale... No. The in-scale detail market has just dried up. It's like BLMA gets a good catalog of parts, and now they got bought out by Atlas, and now stuff is starting to go short. Deluxe even was making like well, I'm not going to give away too many details, but I was looking for a rotary beacon. I couldn't find a rotary beacon to save my life for N-scale, and it's kind of common. So I actually found a gentleman up in Canada who makes them by hand, so I was able to get those. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there that's getting hard to find right now. So I'm just getting what I need, and if I need one part, I'm buying 5, and I'm putting them in my box for a later time, because I don't know what's going on. I think maybe the hobby's changing. I don't know. Maybe I'm speculative here.
Ralph Greenwood wants to know, Joe D, what brand of airbrush do you prefer?
I've only used the Badger. I'll be honest with you. I've had 3 Badgers, and I've had nothing but good luck, and so I don't think I'm going to change. It's kind of like when you find a good pair of sneakers, you don't like to change. So,
yeah.
But I'm not saying anybody's any worse or better than any. I mean, Barry's using a Posh. I've heard rave things about a Posh, but I love my old Badger.
Yeah, and my airbrush is well over 30 years old. Still works great, and they still make it. But I have to admit, I was up when I was up at Amherst one year. I took an Iwata clinic and tried out the Eclipse C.
Oh,
that's a nice airbrush. But like I said, mine still works fine. It does almost as nice of a job.
Iwata
paid for, and the Iwata is like 150.
Yeah, I've heard a lot. Iwata's getting. I don't know what their reputation was before, but it seems like all of a sudden they're getting very popular as the Iwata.
Well, they've always been an airbrush for graphic artists, and they've started to make their way into our hobby now.
Gotcha.
Spraying paint is spraying paint, but they were always popular in that world.
Yeah, and just to answer Ralph's question, I'm using the 155, the Badger 155. That's the dual action. It's not the gravity fed cup. It's the one that picks up from the bottom.
Yeah, Stu Structure says it takes soaking it for a few days if the paint dries in it. Even then, you may not get it completely right. I've done it, but it's a lot of work compared to just doing it when you're done. Mm-hmm. So basically, Stu's saying, to do it right, once you finish, to finish the job completely is cleaning it. So not let it wait, and don't be lazy about it.
Yeah, Stu hit it on the head. You take 30 seconds, and it saves yourself an hour or 2 worth of work afterwards.
Okay, James, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce your last name because I'm from Brooklyn, and I will definitely massacre it. So he says, James says Iwata makes lube, also works great.
Okay.
Yeah. Jerry, Ashley, Joe, are all your couplers changed over to one brand?
Yes. Microchains.
Okay.
Hands down.
Bob Buckley asks, Joe, do you add... Where we going? Joe, Bob Buckley, Joe, do you add any weathering to the side of trucks or fuel tank for ballast dust blowing up on those areas?
Well, we will. We're not done. We're not done yet.
No, we're not. We're not. I'm just going through some of these questions. I want to get them off the board. Ron's Trains and Things. Shapeways is a great for those kind of parts. If you can't find it, you'll find someone who will design it for you.
Shapeways is changing our hobby.
Oh yeah.
If anybody out there is in denial, go on and just spend an afternoon looking at what you can find. It is going to revolutionize the way the hobby is marketed, sold, whatever you want to say. It's
Island Hobby Products. They make all kinds of interurban stuff, from older to modern, and everything they do is 3D designed and printed through Shapeways on some of the best printers out there.
Yep. Ralph Renzetti says the proper way to use the needle juice is to put a drop on your index finger and then rub it together with your thumb and pass the needle between your fingers. That's all you need.
Yep, you don't want a lot on there because then it contaminates your paint.
Gotcha.
He says, Joe, IXO Pop says, Joe, if the trend continues, do you see yourself getting into 3D printing yourself?
Yes.
Yes.
I am already discussing it with the financial officer.
I hear you.
Yeah, at least I got my Cricut, so I got to start using it now, but 3D printer somewhere down the line too.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for a really good one to come in. It's at the right price point.
I've been investigating that that Da Vinci.
Yeah, that's supposed to be a really nice one. There's another one coming out now called the Mooz, M-O-O-Z.
Okay.
It has a 3D print head and a CNC cutter head and a laser engraver head.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, if you got a couple $1,000, Stepcraft makes an industrial platform that has CNC mill head, cutter knife, laser cutter, 3D print head, but you can get beds that get insanely huge. Like you can do garden scale stuff with it.
Oh, okay.
So, but you buy the bed and you get a set of attachments, and it's a pretty interesting system. So,
yeah. Wally's Weathering, he says, Joe, I have a Shapeways store and have designed N-scale parts for myself. So if you've got something you would like designed, please let me know. That's Todd Walton, a very nice man.
yeah,
Todd Walton.
Yes.
Wally's Weathering.
Writing it down.
If Todd would allow me, I will share your email. I will share his email address with you.
Thank you.
Phil Wyman asks, Joe, what manufacturer of paints do you use?
Model Flex. So after Folkwell went down in flames and shocked us all, I went investigating, and I know there's a lot of talk about everybody going to the I just slipped my mind. The brand of paints with the armor colors.
Vallejo.
Thank you, Vallejo. Everybody was going to Vallejo. I went on the Vallejo website. I couldn't find a color for Conrail blue. So I said, you know what? It's not worth my time. I will go to a company that wants to cater to model rarefiers and is going to make a paint palette that says Conrail blue. So I went back to Modiflex, and they're still producing paint. So I just went back to them.
Let's see here. Hillbilly Railroad, Scott wants to know, what is the mix on your paint?
Straight out of the bottle with 4 drops of alcohol. That's it.
There you go.
Because the Model Flex paints come in the bottles already pre-thinned, ready to go into a brush. They used to, they originally were marketed under the AccuFlex name, and the AccuFlex bottles were made so that they could screw right into the bottom of the Badger paint cups. So, of course, I didn't get into that because you had the tendency to pick up all the chunks off the bottom, so I didn't like doing that. But they still are, even though they changed the name to Model Flex, it's still Badger and it's still all airbrush ready paints.
And just so you know, Barry, Ron's Trains and Things, Sparky 107, MHO Junction says that you're echoing.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to mute my mic until I need to say something.
Okay. So let's get back to the video because we've kind of caught up on all our questions.
Okay. All right, so now we're in the phase now where we're going to start getting ready to reassemble so we can get to going with our decoder install. But first, before I reassemble, I want to go ahead and I want to do some weathering on these trucks, and I'm going to use I use branded weathering system. I know there's a bunch of different manufacturers out there to make it. What it is, it's kind of like a pastel, but it's got an adhesive in it, so this way you just scrub it on or brush it on, and it sticks. So you don't have to worry about putting layers of pastels on and then dull coating. Because me personally, I didn't like that way because you get a certain look of the way the powdered pastels lay on the model. You hit it with the tester's dull coat, and all of a sudden it fades, and you got to do it again and again. So this I really like because it's just one step, and what you see is what you get.
That's the Bragdon powders, right?
Bragdon Enterprises, yes.
Here's a tip for you, Joe. Don't use dull coat. Get Krylon workable fixative. Okay. It's meant for chalks and pastels for artist paints and pencils, so it doesn't dissolve the powders like dull coat does.
Okay, I'll take that tip. So now what I'm doing is I'm concentrating on these trucks. So I'm using a dark earth color. trying to simulate that road grime that comes up out of the ballast, the mud that the locomotive kicks up, and we're going to hit these side frames up. Now, I want to do this now before we get this stuff assembled, because I've learned the hard way. You get this stuff on the wheels and the pickups, it gums up everything, and you have to disassemble and re-clean. So let's just do it now and get it so we can keep our wheels clean. So just taking the time to hit up the journal bearings, hit up the springs, and then you can see it starts to bring out a lot more detail. The other thing is we're trying to color correct this grimy black. I think the grimy black is a real good base for your weathering. I just think it's a little too blue. I wouldn't leave it just the way it is on your model. So that's what we're doing here with this powder.
That grimy black leaves a blue tint, you're saying?
Yeah, my personal opinion, when I look at it, it just looks like a little bit of blue tinge to it. So that's why I want to try and put some pastels on and kind of just little color correction. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in some oxide red just to give a little rust and get a little different colors, so it's not all one uniform color. That's the key when we're doing this, everyone, is that we want to do it in variations and layers. The more layers you can put on with your weathering, the better it looks. Just one blanket color, if you will really won't. I don't think it stands out as well. I think when you do multiple coats, it looks better.
I think you're correct.
Yes, thank you.
I think that when you do this, I think that it overall, when the whole engine is back together, it's a uniform look. As you see it doing individual, it's now becoming more, once it all comes together, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
I know, I'm smart. I could have been the head of the family. So said Fredo to his brother Michael.
So there we go. We got some nice color on the trucks or the paint, and now we're going to go ahead and put these trucks back together.
Very nice. Very nice.
So we get out our Chinese food container, and we get our parts all laid out, and we go ahead and put these back together. Make sure you put your pickups on the right points, and they settle on the tips of the axles. Snap that thing in there, and you just take your fingers and push it until it snaps. Once you hear a good click, you know you're in there. You know what I like to do when I'm all done putting it together is I just free roll it across my work mat just to make sure there's no binding or no skipping or gears aren't blocked up.
Here's a good tip from Wally's Weathering. He says, I put my powders on a sheet of paper, one sheet for each color. Then I can put what I don't use back into the containers.
I like that tip.
I love that tip.
Yeah. I usually just dump it.
Yeah, you can waste a lot of powders doing it on the bench.
Oh, yeah. And I'm a slob, too. It gets everywhere.
Good idea there, Todd. Good idea.
So as you can see, it's small. Yeah, it's in scale small, but once you get the knack for it, you're good. You get it.
That is the nice thing with the Bragdon powders. They're very resistant to handling because of the micro-adhesive in them.
Yes. I love it, Barry. Yeah, I'm just showing you. Those are the pins. Those are the pins there that you need to pay attention when you're putting it together. Make sure those pins are snapped in there, because then it's going to make sure it's together.
Let me ask a stupid question.
Go.
When you're weathering like this and you have the powder, do you wash your hands before
I'm going to pause the video, Joe.
Okay.
Do you wash your hands prior to each each next thing you're going to do?
Yeah, that's why I was cleaning my hands up there, kind of wet from washing. I got a washroom right across from the layout, so I just want to clean up. Also, you know what? I just thought of. I forgot to mention it when we started. I always take the shell over with a toothbrush and some dish soap and clean it before we get started with anything. You get all the fingerprints and stuff off. So that was sorry about that. I kind of missed that.
No, that's better late than never. But basically, what you're doing is you're taking the residue off from the mold that was made, or from the handling. You know, I've done it where you've taken it and
forgot to wash it and you go to powder it, and then all of a sudden you see a fingerprint on the hood and you're like, ah. So that's just doing it with the toothbrush will get all that stuff off.
Right. Hey, Sparky 107 says, but if you use powder then airbrush, wouldn't it not blow off the powder? He says, sorry, I'm the new guy here. And then Wally's answer is, Sparky used the powders after airbrushing, which is true. And there's no such thing as a stupid question, Sparky. It's only a question that has never been asked.
What I just like to do is I like to airbrush that base coat on to give the model a little extra tooth to grab them powders. Because when I'm putting the powders on a brand new model that's never been, that's fresh out of the box, you used to always dull coat it first before you got started. I just use my base weathering with that sand as my dull coat, if you will. It just gives it a little tooth to grab everything.
Sparky wants to know then, how does it stay on? How does it stay on there over time?
Because the Bragdon Enterprises powders actually have micro adhesive beads in with the powders. So when you brush it on with your brush through the actions of friction, you're activating that adhesive and it sticks on there. So as long as you put the powders on, the Bragdon Enterprise powders, and you put the model aside overnight, just let it sit. By the morning, it will be where you can handle it and it won't fall off again.
Okay, so let's start the video up again.
Well, we think we need to mention what Ralph just posted there.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Yeah, he said he's used the Krylon and had a 3-day paint job go terribly wrong, which I've never heard of, but I'm glad you did mention. It not only crazed the paint, but it wrinkled the plastic below. If you use dull coat from a jar mixed 50-50 and give it a very light spray, it works beautifully. Thank you for that, Ralph. It's good to know, because I'm using one saying use workable fixative with the powders or pastels, because that's what it's designed for. But yeah, it's not necessarily designed for plastics. So good point.
I do want to point out at this time that Joe has taken a cooler into his room. He has soda and snacks because he didn't want to dehydrate himself during the show. So that's smart thinking, Joe.
Thank you.
So let's go back to the video.
Where are we?
Right. So we just get into the decoder now. So
Coca-Cola spot.
There we go. All right.
Okay. So we're going to get ready to start installing our TCS MP15N decoder. It's just a drop-in board. So what we're going to do is we're going to unscrew the frame. I only undo it partially. I don't take the whole thing apart because then it's like Yahtzee. You got parts everywhere. So just undo the screws a little bit, just enough to wiggle that board out, and then we're going to drop our decoder board on top. It's a very simple install. And the reason I wanted to do this type of locomotive first for everyone, because a lot of people are intimidated by this locomotive because it's so small. The MP15 is a small chassis to begin with, and then it's small parts to fit it all in that long hood.
So you started with the hard first, and then we're going to work down to the easy in the next couple.
Maybe.
Nothing too difficult here.
No. It's a very easy install that a lot of people get intimidated with. That's why I wanted to do this one.
Yeah, these drop-in end scale decoders are pretty straightforward to install.
Yes, sir. Now, while we're getting started, we'll cover this probably more in depth at a later time, but some of the decoder manufacturers have production run problems where you may run into a board that may be a little too thin and it may shift back and forth in your chassis and not make good contact. So be aware if you're doing this install here and you see that board's a little loose, don't be afraid to put a little extra solder on there to kind of tighten it up and keep that board in there.
Right.
And then if that doesn't work, either consider going to a wired decoder or even just soldering wires onto it. Something to think about. So now we're going to put our trucks in there. We're going to tighten up our screws on our frame, and we're all ready to go. And we're going to head over to the programming tray.
Now, anybody who hasn't had a chance should check out Sparky's YouTube channel from Central Jersey N Scale and Conrail, and it's a very, very interesting channel. He does operations and breakdowns of yard moves and how and what his basic railroad is about.
Yep.
So,
all right, here comes the programming part.
Bruce Gerard says, shim the board with Kapton tape.
Kapton tape, yep.
Yeah.
So what I like to do is, I don't have a designated program track right now, so I have this little portable track. So I just jumper it into my my DCC system, and I put it over there. Get the chassis set up, and we're going to be using my Digitrack system. Barry, pause it when the throttle's there.
Okay. Okay. Yep. There. I just faded it back.
Okay. So I used my the Digitrack decoder. Now there's two different ways you can program this decoder. You can use the JMRI software, because I have my system linked into a computer. And we can sit down at the computer desk and we can do it that way. Or you can use your throttle hooked into the DCC system and program it that way. So there's two different ways to do it. This time we're going to do it with the throttle, and I'll take it step by step. To my NCE users out there, I apologize. I am a Digitrax man, so I really can't help you with the steps through the NCE programming process.
All right, so let me roll this video again. All right, we're up.
Okay, so the first thing what we're going to do is we are going to hit program, and then we're going to make sure we're in the PG mode, which is the page mode. We're going to select a 2-digit address on this decoder, and then you can either dial it in or punch it in, and we're going to use number 26 here. Then we're going to hit enter. It's going to program, and it's writing it, and then it says good. So we know that it took the address. So now, just to double check, here's one little check step for you. You're going to go to program mode, you're going to go to page, and then you're going to go to display, which will then read what the decoder number is on the programming track. And we see that it's number 26, so we know that our process worked. Everything's good to go. So now we're going to take it over to the main. And we're going to put it on the main. Before I put the chassis, the shell back on, I'm going to go ahead and go through a nice little test, make sure everything works. So we know first indication is that the headlights are on. We know that, okay, we're headed in the right direction now. We got headlights. That's the number one function you look for. Then we're going to change directions. We see the headlights change. We're starting to get movement. Everything appears to be running fine. So we're just going to give a little test. We'll go backwards. I got a little dirty track here.
Hard to keep alive in an N scale.
Yeah, I know. All right, just run it back and forth, making sure it's running, it's responding well. Now with this this decoder, I didn't set any momentum, and I didn't go into the CVs and play with CVs and stuff like that. So I just left it bone stock programming. Here I'm just checking the directions, make sure the headlights are switching. So now we know that our decoder is all set. It took our programming and it runs fine.
All right, now we got final assembly and weathering.
Final assembly and weathering.
Bob Bruce King, I hope I pronounced that right, Bob. He says, I make sure that the motor leads are insulated also with some...
Pause the video, Jim.
Okay. He says he makes sure that the motor leads are insulated also with some tape with these decoders.
Okay. Yeah, I generally, with the Capcom tape, okay, let me explain to you this way. Capcom tape. My personal opinion on this is this. When you get your board from your manufacturer and they got that little piece of Capcom tape in there, and you go to tear it off and then you go and put it on your chassis, you know, because you want to get it to stick and insulate, take that tape off that packaging and throw it in the garbage. It's junk. Ever take a piece of masking tape? When you're doing modeling, you want to use masking tape. What do you do first? You stick it on the workbench to pull some of that adhesive off so it doesn't stick as much, right? Same thing with the Capcom tape. So if you're going to be doing DCC installs, my biggest tip for you tonight is go out on eBay or Amazon or wherever you go buy your stuff and buy yourself a roll of Capcom tape. It'll be the best $10 you ever spent because it'll work perfectly. And once you do that, you'll be amazed what you can do with the Capcom tape. Insulating wires. Today I was working on a locomotive in the shop, MRC soundboard on a Kato P42. It's kind of out of whack and it wasn't touching the context. I just put some Capcom tape over the top of the decoder to push it down, and it runs like a champ. So it's very versatile when it comes to this because it's insulated. So best tip for you tonight is just go out and buy yourself a roll and take that stuff off the packaging and throw it in the garbage. It's not worth nothing.
The advantages of that over like electrical tape is that because it's a polyamide resin, it's puncture and abrasion resistant too compared to like black electrical tape.
Correct. And it's thinner, and it's much thinner too, right, Barry?
Yeah. Yes. So you can build up layers of it, like you said, if you need to lift up a board to make contact or push it down. So, all right.
James K says here, a good suggestion is when you're using your JMRI, always do a read, and you will not smoke out your decoder. It will tell if something's wrong without smoking the decoder.
Yeah, I think next install we're going to do the JMRI. We'll go over that.
Yeah. All right, so let's continue with this. This is now the reassembly and
final weathering.
And final.
Yep.
Alrighty.
So what I'm going to do here is I got to put this little light shield on. This Atlas MP15 has this fancy little shield to redirect the light back up into the chassis. And I was having trouble getting it to fit on, so I just stuck it in the shell and dropped the shell on, and it worked. So we get this thing, and we want to put our shell on, snap it in, put our fuel tank on, and then I'm going to take it back to the layout, and we're going to do another test. I'm going to do another quick test just to make sure it runs, because when you put that shell on, you may have dislodged that board, or you may have caught a wire or something like that. So it's just prudent before you go any further.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Never hurts to do extra testing.
Because just hate to get into going down the road weathering and find out I did everything and I knocked something loose. So there we go. We do a quick test. Everything's running.
That thing just looks fantastic there.
Yeah. All right, so now we're going to make it look really good. This is my favorite part. So we're going to take these weathering, these patterns. Now, don't forget, this chassis, we're not doing too much dirt here. So the first thing I'm going to pick up is I'm going to pick up some black soot. And we're going to hit that roof line. And these two center, for those of you who don't know, the two posts in the middle of the locomotive there, those are your exhaust stacks. So we're going to put some of that that black soot around those exhaust stacks to make diesel exhaust. And then I'll pull it away, and we'll spread it all over the hood. So, long pause.
Yeah, so you're just pointing out the stacks now.
107, 107, Sparky says, it's still N scale, blah. No, Sparky, it's trains, no matter what size. You just have
Listen, Sparky, any of these techniques here, I challenge you, you can use them in HO scale.
Yeah,
absolutely, 100%. No different, doesn't matter what the scale is.
Yep, all the weathering and all the things about just tearing trucks apart, all that's valid for HO scale or O scale, whatever you want.
Now, here we go.
I see what you're doing here. Very nice.
So now we're also going to hit them frames. I got a little too much, so I had to shake it off because I didn't want to run it down the sides. With this model, I don't want streaking down the sides because we're doing it light. So I'm also going to hit those grates up. Make sure we tone those grates down from that real dark black and blend it in with the rest of the chassis. Make sure we hit our roof line up here. I'm going to go in with some dirt again. And we're going to hit that fuel tank because don't forget we were doing the trucks, but we didn't do the fuel tank because that was sitting in the box. So just put some streaks in there. You can get a little fancy if you want. You can put some fuel runs and stuff, but we're just keeping it simple this time. I'm going to take some of that dirt. I'm going to hit that side, those battery boxes on the side. You know, some of that mud kicking up, just a little bit of light, real lightly. I found a spot that I missed on the roof, so I'm going to hit that up.
And N scale stands for usually overstated, so there we go. And Bob's N scale man cave says N scale is for the highly skilled who want a greater challenge.
My man Bob.
I agree with him.
Don't forget to hit this long hood here over in the front. A lot of people neglect that because of the handrails. So just gingerly work in around those handrails to get it. It's very important because you take your front end Friday shots. My N scale is out there on Facebook, know what I'm talking about. You take your front end Friday shots and you forget to hit that front end. We'll see it in your pictures.
Sparky says, sure, Bill, toss me under the bus. Under the bus. Never, brother, never.
Now, in case this way, we're throwing you under the switcher, Sparky.
It's all fun and, man, you guys got to remember, this is all plastic trains, man. This isn't for real. This is just a hobby that's for fun, and we're enjoying it. We have a great community of people here.
Just like I said before, just working in layers, just taking our time. We don't want to push it, we don't want to rush it and overdo it. And yes, I realize that there's a spot still we missed. I'll get it. Don't worry. It's like sticking out like a sore thumb. I can see it from here. No, I get it at the end.
MHO Junction suggests invite someone who knows about NCE. That's a good one. I think we could do that.
It's something we've never really visited in any of the tech shows. I mean, we've talked about NCE, but I mean, I think Chris Healy uses NCE, so maybe we'll have to get him to.
Yeah, in fact, I think him and John were working on something the other day on the Hangout.
Yeah, yeah.
So there we go. Now we're all set, finished, looking good.
Looks fantastic, Joe.
Yeah, I like it. I do. And Hillbilly Railroad wants to know, Scott, what kind of brushes? What kind of brushes do you use?
I don't use anything pricey.
Nothing pricey. Yeah, that's good.
Because you junk them up, you throw them away. The only thing is, when I recommend you do, go to like Craft Barn or Michael's or anything, just to let everybody know we're doing a test run now. I like to do a break-in. I just let it run around the layout for about 20 minutes just to get a nice break-in on a brand new locomotive. So that's what we're doing. These are some pictures you can see the finished one. So to answer Hillbilly Bob's question, I just go to Michael's, Craft Barn, Hobby Lobby, whatever, and I just buy a packet of a bunch of brushes for like $10. It doesn't matter to me. And I bring them home and use them. I throw them away. Don't even bother cleaning them. But when you're doing the pastels, you want to take these. You want to take these brushes and cut them down a little short. The Bragdon Enterprise powders work a little better when you have a short bristle brush.
Yeah, you need to be able to scrub them in to make, like you said, to activate the adhesive. So.
Yep.
All right, so our video is done.
Sparky 107 says, I'm an NCE guy, just got the wireless system. The Bob's N-Scale Man Cave, I have an NCE but don't know it all. Bruce G says, nice looking switcher, Joe.
Thank you.
Jerry Ashley asks, Joe, do you do house calls? And Sparky 107 says, very nice. Can you do one in HO and send it my way?
I got lots of locomotives I got to get caught up with. Then maybe we'll open the shops up to some outside
There
work.
we go.
Cheap Man the NW Perry cheap makeup brushes can also be used. Absolutely. Yeah. I go to the dollar store to the makeup department, and I always get what is it called?
Hey, you know what? You just brought up a great point. I was thinking about this the other day. So while we're talking about weather, makeup. You know, you ever sat there and watch your wives or your significant others put makeup on? It's fascinating. You use makeup to conceal blemishes or problems and to accentuate the beauty. All right? So let's think of it this way. What we just did, weathering, we're putting makeup on. We're trying to hide the things that we don't like, and we want to bring out the things that we like. So,
yeah, good point.
Yeah, that's you're very right. You're very true.
Another good thing at makeup stores to get those sanding sticks. Says
hog-hair brushes work the best, I think, for weathering.
Oh,
Ralph says, Joe, you talk.
What was that?
Ralph once says, Joe, we need to talk.
Let's see. AJ Kleinpass says brushes, Walmart, Joann's, Hobby Lobby, CVS, Walgreens, Dollar Tree, any cheap brushes from paint to makeup. Stu's structure. Makeup powders can also be used to weather as well.
Yes. Who was doing that? Was using the pan pastels.
I've used them before, and I like them myself. The one nice thing I like about them is how you put them on. You get a little bit more control than you do with powders, but you don't lose so much as you do with the powders. Yes. I still like the Bragdon powders because of the way they have the adhesive and everything, but I've got a nice set of pan pastels, and I've done some pretty nice things with them too. So either way it would work fine, or combinations thereof, you know. Well, Bill, what do you think? It's getting near giveaway time.
Yes, I think it is. I think I think our audiences have been patient. I think their questions were good. Joe, we're gonna obviously continue with this. We want to take care of doing the giveaway here, and but first and foremost, let me say that this was a very enjoyable, entertaining, and knowledgeable show. Joe, I have to commend you. You absolutely hit the nail right on the head with a lot of things, and you're very knowledgeable and enthusiastic. Your enthusiasm is very contagious.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. You felt through the video, so job well done, my friend. Job well done, and I'm looking forward to the other ones that we're going to produce together in this.
And I think this is a good forum for bringing more N-scalers into our community.
Yeah.
Yes,
sounds like quite a few. I hear some names out there that I recognize from my channel. So yeah, there's quite a few out there. Absolutely. Do we want to talk about? Do we want to reveal any details about the next show?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
Keep them guessing.
Okay.
Let's keep them guessing because you want them coming back.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay. Joe. Maybe just a little, just a smidge, just something to tease, to whet the appetite.
Milwaukee Road.
There you go. That's all we're going to say. Let's go on to the prizes, my friend.
All righty. So I'm going to activate the giveaway form, and that's now active.
Okay, pay attention, guys. You want to get in on this prize? We've never done it before. Pay attention to how this works.
And here's how you get there to win. You go to YouTubeModelBuilders.com and you click on the pull down for YouTube Model Builders Live, and at the bottom you will see where it says the live show giveaway form. That is now active. Go and fill in your information. Make sure you don't use duplicate addresses, other emails. We will find you. And then for this episode 40 of the live show, the passcode you will need is boxcar. 2 words, boxcar, all lowercase. So it is now active, folks. So go in, put in your information, and Bill will go through all of our giveaways. So let me know when you're ready to show the first giveaway, Bill.
Go right ahead. Are you showing it or am I showing? I'm not. I can't show it.
I can show it. So I'm going to show it.
You show it and I'll explain it.
All right. There's our first giveaway.
Okay, hold on. Box card. Sparky 107. It's box card. BOXCAK. Exactly as you.
Well, it's 2 words. Two
it's
words.
2 words.
Two words.
Box card. You're correct. You're correct. It's 2 words. Box car. BOX, then car. CAR.
Yep.
Okay, the first giveaway is the road striping kit from Highways and Byways, the arts and crafts store. This road striping kit is a package of vinyl strips for your model railroad, and they're by highwaysandbyways.com. I've said this before 1,000 times. Every time this comes up, that Gino Sharp has used this on his layout to weather. That what you see down there, that picture is a photo of him, of his layout, and he used it. And he says these things are indestructible.
Yes, sir.
So that would be one of them. There also, whoever wins this kit also wins a surprise gift that comes along with this. And if you're a rail fan and you like to go out and watch trains go by, you'll love this. The gift that comes with this.
Yes.
Okay.
Alrighty, so our next one is now up, Bill.
Yes, AJ, it is insect repellent towel.
Someone's been talking to Curtis.
Somebody. It's in the prize thing. So the second prize is Railroad Model Craftsman. It's a 3-month free 3-month subscription to Railroad Model Craftsman from White River Production. Always bringing you the best in model railroading since 1933. So you'll get a free 3-month subscription to Railroad Model Craftsman.
All right, our next one's up, Bill.
Yeah, well, it's taken it takes about whatever. The insect repellent was donated by Curtis Hunt, by the way. Dave's decals, model decals and stuff, your choice of 2 sheets. Also check out Dave's website, daveart.net, and you will see a plethora of decals it has, and a lot of stuff that's very interesting on there for all your decaling needs. You'll get 2 sheets if you're the winner of this.
And check out his miniature scale newspapers.
Yes.
For use as debris on your layout. Alright, and now we're transitioning the last giveaway, or next to last giveaway, Bill.
Next to last, okay. Let's see what we got. It's taking a few delays.
Yeah.
And this is from our good friends Jeff and Heather from CVMW. This is a punch plate bridge kit. It seems to be one of the most popular giveaways on this giveaway that we do from Central Valley Model Works. It's a 150-foot HO scale punch plate bridge kit from CVMW.com. Check out their website. They have a lot of good stuff on there, bridges and other stuff, and track as well. So pretty cool. So
all right. The last one is now coming up.
Right. And the last one is experience the evolution of prototype modeling using weathering decals from Weathering Solutions. These I've used myself. They have a bunch of great stuff like oil stains, graffiti, rust stains. If you're looking to get, the effect with the rust and oil stains, and especially the decal sets are pretty well off. And these are some of the these photos are that you see on here of what are the exact replicas of what he gives away. So he'll give 3 sheets of these away to the winner. Again, so this is weathering decals, using weathering decals from Weathering Solutions.
Alrighty, so like I said before, folks, the giveaways are open. Just go to YouTube modelbuilders.live, go to the YouTube, the live show, pull down and go to the giveaway entry form at the bottom, put in the passcode, 2 words, boxcar. And it's been open for a few minutes now. We're starting to collect entries.
As you're discussing that, on these prizes, when you win, what usually happens is it generates your email for the winners of this of the giveaways. What it does is it generates your email. So what I will do is I will send you an email, basically congratulating you on winning, and depending on what I need, like punch plate bridge, if you win that. What's the other one? Find the 3-month subscription. I need your address, your full address on everything, and stuff like that. So this way I can get it out to the vendor, and the vendor can get either Dave Decal usually gets in touch with you, and so does Weathering Solutions, and he gets in touch with you. And punch plate bridge, Central Valley Model Works. Jeff and Heather are pretty good. Once I give them the address, it's usually out the next day or the day after. I've never had a problem with that. So, and the subscribers for 3 months, except if you live in Australia, it takes a very, very long time to get to Australia. Why, I don't know, but it does. In any case, usually they get it out as soon as I fill out this is the form that they send me, and I send it out with your name, address, city, state, zip, your phone number, and your email. If you don't have a phone number, you don't want to supply that to me, that's fine. I usually put mine in there anyway. So anyway, and that gets sent out, and they usually do get it back to you within 2 weeks. So just so you guys know that. I know we must have somehow we got screwed up last time because some guys didn't receive their prize. And so I have to go over that tomorrow, check that. So with that said, how many people have signed up so far?
27 so far, Bill.
What are we in, 11:23? Give it 2 more minutes to 11:25.
All right, you got it, and then we'll call.
In the meantime, what we're doing here is we're doing this new series with Joe, and it's called Into the Locomotive Shop, and we hope to be doing a couple more shows on this. Hopefully, a minimum of 4 or 5, even 6, depending how well it's received. We don't really want to, you know, and Joe and I talked about this in great lengths earlier in the summer. We don't want to expand it to the point where it starts getting old and it's like we're repeating the same stuff. We want to keep fresh content out there. So, you know, we're thinking of new things and new ways to do it. So we're going to use variations. But the next YouTube Model Builders Hangout is going to be the General Hangout, which will be tomorrow, September 14th, and that's on at 9 o'clock. Is it true? It's 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern, or I get it all screwed up. I hate this.
The Hangouts are normally 8 p.m. Central,
8 p.m.
9 p.m. Eastern.
Right. So that's tomorrow, and I believe that's going to be with Andy. I believe it's unless Johnny gets his internet back. He got affected by the hurricane too. And then on October 4th, we have the Adreno show with Chris Healy. And then October 10th, we have the Fine Scale show. And then October 18th, we come back into the Locomotive Shop with Joe Desmond, myself, and Barry. And then on September 26th, we have Bill Baronic, and he'll be doing a show on principles of track planning, designing for operations, proper benchwork design, and dissecting track plans, and much, much more. You can also read Bill's column, A Perspective on Track Planning, in every issue of the eMag that comes out, and it should be out, I would say, I believe it's the 16th, if I'm correct, or sometime during that week, depending on how much work JD and his staff got to do. And they do a great job of producing an excellent e-magazine for YouTube model builders. Those guys work so hard and so diligently in putting out a top 8 product. In my opinion, I think they're right up there. There's no advertisement in it, and it's a free magazine. If you want to get it, please go to YouTubeModelBuilders.com, and under the YouTube e-magazine, you'll see the drop down. Put your email in there, and we'd be more than happy to you know, send you an e-mag. And just before we do these prizes, I just want to give a shout out to Tom Cavecci. I'm sorry, Tom. Tom's Trains and Things, Curtis Hunt, and Mr. Robert Sacco down in Florida, and all the other Floridians that live down there are in our thoughts and prayers with this hurricane that hit you. I know it's affected my family in a way. My brother has a house in St. John's in the Virgin Islands, and his house was totally destroyed, totally taken up from its foundation and obliterated at 185 miles in. So it has affected nobody, fortunately, in my family. My brother wasn't down there, but it's still a devastating loss. And to all those down there, and all, you know, Tom and Curtis and Robert, you know, if there's anything you need, anything whatsoever, please do not hesitate to reach out to YouTube Model Builders and ask. And if we can do it, we'll do it. If we have to do a fundraiser, we'll do a fundraiser. If you guys got destroyed, I don't know what we can do, but I know our hearts and our prayers and thoughts are with you, and we hope that you're safe and sound, and at least got power back and getting back to some sort of a normalcy. And I know words don't convey what you guys went through, and you know, so again, our heartfelt, you know, prayers go out to you, and we hope that you guys are all right.
Amen, Bill. All right, so we're up to 29. So I say we call it. It's time to call it, Bill.
Let's do it, brother.
All right, so we're on the pick winner screen. Dun, 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 dun. Boom, winners have been picked.
Wow.
Okay, so it's just a simple push of a button.
Isn't it?
So
technology's great when it works.
Oh, yes, exactly. When it works. That's what pays my bills when it don't work. So, giveaway 1, the fabulous road striping decals from John Howard at Highways and Byways. goes to Phil Wyman.
Hey, Phil.
Hey, congratulations, Phil. So giveaway 2 is the Railroad Model Craftsman 3-month subscription. And that goes to David Hagan. So congratulations, Mr. Hagan.
Nice.
And giveaway 3 is Dave's decals, models, and stuff. Fantastic things that he makes. And that giveaway 3 goes to Bob Olson. So congratulations, Bob.
Yeah, Bob.
And giveaway 4, the bridge.
Wait. Hold on.
What?
Ben's just give it suspense.
So the bridge goes to Robert Holman. You're awesome. And then giveaway 5, the Weathering Solutions decal set for weathering, goes to David Start. So there's our winners for this evening.
David Spot.
Start, S-T-A-R-T.
S-T-A-R-T. Oh, okay, David Starr. Oh, I think I sent your brother one, if I'm correct, Dave. If you're still listening, if you're out there, I think your brother, he won the 3-month subscription, and I think that was you. Or he sent it to you, I believe. Let me see. If you're still out there, Dave, acknowledge that that's what happened, because that's what I think happened.
All righty. So we've come to the end of another fine show, Bill.
Yes, that's it. David Stott. Yes, David Stott won the 3-month subscription last time, and he gave it to his brother. Very nice. He wants to get his brother back involved. Have him, send him over here. Send him over here to the YouTube Model Builders channel, and we'll get him enthusiastic. So that's it. We got it all. We're all. Yes, Joe. What is it? I'm sorry.
I was just looking at all the comments. I just want to thank you, everybody. I got it on my phone down here. I'm thanking everybody for watching and all the nice things that are being said. And also, just want to thank my brother. He's not a model rarer, and he was watching. He commented. So thanks, Mike.
Yes, and your brother also is a retired serviceman. Is that correct?
Yes, he's getting out of active duty. He's an active duty submarine sailor.
Oh,
he's a commander, lieutenant commander.
Nice.
And what's your brother's name?
Mike Desmond.
Mike Desmond. First and foremost, Mike from YouTube Model Builders, give you a big shout out. Thank you for your service, sir, for your service to this country and your sacrifice to this country. And also, and I don't know if Joe wants me to mention this, but Joe is a police officer. Give you a big shout out. Thank you for your service, sir. Joe works for your service to this country, and he usually works the nighttime. And he's out there, you know, protecting and serving, and we want to give a big shout to him for his service as well. He's a very community-minded guy, and we're great to know him and to have him on part of the YouTube Model Builders here as we do this show. So with that, thank you to you, and thank you to your brother Mike for his service to our country.
And just to answer to Bob's question, he won Dave's decals.
Yes, he did. Dave's decals. Bob won. Yes, he did. With that said, we will say adieu. That means goodbye in French. You didn't know I knew another language. I speak Brooklynese as well, and stuff like that. But we want to thank you, Joe, for being on the show.
It was great. I had a lot of fun. I can't wait till the next one.
Good. Barry, once again, director extraordinaire. You do the right thing, push the right buttons, and make it look so easy.
Outstanding work tonight, Barry.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. From me, Bill Graham, we'll see you guys on the radio. Take care and God bless.